Nobody, not even myself, initially realized that my marriage had ended that night. It didn't collapse in a furious altercation or a heartfelt admission. Instead, it shifted, like a house slowly catching fire, with a hairline crack splintering, wider and deeper through something you thought was indestructible. Fake congratulations and phony laughter filled the night as Marissa Hull, my wife and companion of over 10 years, threw herself a surprise promotion party. Which obviously means she planned it. When everyone leaped out from behind the kitchen island, she feigned shock and took in every detail with gleaming satisfaction. The guests rushed in. Marissa's carefully curated playlist thumped, and the cheap champagne sent my folks into a bubbly tidal wave. The first people to raise their glasses were Gerald and Lorraine Cross, beaming like they had just witnessed the birth of a new savior. To Gerald, our amazing daughter-in-law and the true breadwinner, someone yelled, recklessly spilling his glass. Lorraine laughed near the cream carpet, gripping Marissa's arm with the kind of hold reserved for trophies. I stood there calmly, nodding with a glass of flat soda in hand, like one offered during emergency landings. The word breadwinner echoed in my skull long after the applause died down. It hadn't just appeared that night. It had crept into recent conversations, whispered, at brunch muttered when people thought I wasn't listening. We were a team, right? We built this life together. At least that's what I had convinced myself of for years. As always, Marissa stretched herself across the center of every story, every photo. Even as they posed for group pictures, I remained the shadow on the edge. Smiles, champagne, arms entwined. It was as though I didn't exist in the frame. Around midnight, after the last piece of cake, the man behind the camera disappeared from the picture. After the final note of fake devotion had faded and the plates sat forgotten, I stood alone in the kitchen. Marissa waltzed in, still buzzing from the attention. She scraped frosting off the counter with the edge of a fork, still wearing her tight red promotion dress with a smug little curl to her lips. She strutted up to me like royalty, having charged our shared credit card without a word. Without a thank you. Just handed me a neatly folded t-shirt. I blinked, confused at first. Then I unfolded it. In big, bold, black letters it read, "The loser of the house." I laughed. At least, I think I did. But even to my own ears it sounded hollow. Marissa laughed too. "It's a joke," she said, flipping her hair over her shoulder, in that well-practiced way that used to make my chest hurt with love. She patted me on the chest like I was a golden retriever who'd learned a trick. "Baby, lighten up," she chirped. I gave her the smile of a polite stranger. Mechanical. Not in the eyes. Not in the soul. I let the t-shirt flutter in the breeze of the overhead fan for a moment before folding it neatly and setting it on the marble. Island. That's when something in me clicked. It wasn't rage. It wasn't sorrow. It was clarity. Quiet. Burning. Undeniable. This wasn't a one-time slight. It was the 1,000 paper cuts that came before. Each sneer, each joke, each time. She praised our success as if it was hers alone. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad. I was done. But I didn't leave right away. It felt too simple after the decision had finally been made. I didn't scream. I didn't slam doors. I just stayed, physically present in a place I had already emotionally left. Marissa vanished into the living room to FaceTime her best friend about the incredible night. She passed out hours later, wineglass in hand. She didn't realize it yet. I sat in our bedroom, the t-shirt beside me. I traced the letters, the loser of the house, with my fingers. No anger, no bitterness, just reflection. I thought of the man I used to be, and the man I was ready to become, not for her, not for her friends, not for the world. For me. I folded the shirt and placed it in the bottom drawer of my dresser. Not as a wound, but as a reminder. Because that night's noise, that celebration, it wasn't real. but the victory taking shape beneath it was. By the time the sun cracked through the blinds the next morning, I had already begun to leave. Marissa was awake, curling her hair in front of the vanity mirror. She moved like someone preparing for a public appearance. She didn't even glance at me. I lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling, feeling the invisible weight of the day press into my chest. This was the day everything changed. The day I took my life back. I got up quietly. She didn't stop humming her meaningless little pop song. She caught my reflection behind her and chirped, "You left me cold last night, big day today. Think you'll be okay without me this evening?" She smiled, didn't wait for a reply, and added, "Another networking dinner. Very important people. You know how it is." I nodded faintly. She didn't even look. She didn't know what day it was. But I did. This wasn't about a forgotten birthday or a missed anniversary. This was about erosion. Years of it. I went to the closet and picked up the briefcase I'd packed weeks ago. Documents, recordings, labeled folders, all prepped and ready. My laptop was charged. My email drafted and scheduled for exactly 8:30 a.m. She reached for her designer bag, probably worth more than my first car, and did her little private victory dance toward the door. "Don't wait up," she said, as if abandoning me was a treat. Then she was gone. I sat at the kitchen table. The clock read 8:29 a.m., tick, tick, tick. At 8:30, the laptop screen blinked. Email sent. I closed the laptop gently, exhaled slowly, like air leaving a long, punctured tire. Across town, a storm was already forming above Marissa's office. She always flirted with Simon Keene, thinking I hadn't noticed. He'd be the first to receive the file. Names, dates, numbers. The proof that she hadn't climbed the ladder alone. She stepped on people, buried complaints, faked numbers. Grinned. Through every lie. At 9 a.m., my phone buzzed. Marissa. I let it vibrate against the wood. Her name used to mean love. Now it meant exposure. By 9:05, more calls, more texts, desperation rising. I took a sip of my coffee. Dark roast, Colombian. Tasted like freedom. By 9:15, I could picture her in the boardroom. Simon's rage, the unraveling of the image she worked so hard to construct. She had thought herself untouchable. She was wrong. And I was calm. The house was quiet, but chaos raged elsewhere. By the time I finished my coffee, she had called 14 times, sent 23 texts. I didn't respond. I wouldn't. I slipped the phone into my jacket, stepped into the cool morning air, and never looked back.